Now, one of the things that's really interesting for me anyway, when I was around 19, 18 years old before I became a Christian, is no one had ever really talked to me about heart other than sports. You know, give all your heart, play with all your heart, put your heart into it. But I didn't understand that the heart is the seat of two things. It's the seat of our emotions, but it's also the seat of our deepest, most spiritual meanderings or thoughts or feelings. In other words, the heart is the engine that drives us. In Proverbs 16:26, it says, "The laborer's appetite works for him. His hunger drives him on." If we don't deal with our hearts in our lives, it'll be difficult to build great relationships. It'll be difficult to endure difficult times. It'll be hard to be resilient. Faith is letting God into our hearts, saying, you know what, God, I've got some of these sources of frustration in my life, and I need your help getting these sources of frustration out of my life, and I'm going to choose faith. What is faith all about? Faith is about getting your inside world right. Faith is about getting your inside world right. That's what it's about. Matthew 5:8. You're blessed when you get your inside world. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and your heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. Now in Matthew 5:8 in the NIV it says, the pure in heart will see God. That's the traditional translation. The pure in heart will see God. Here, he's explaining that using the Message translation, saying, you're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. Getting your inside world right is getting rid of all the things that cause the frustration. And we normally call those things sins. But remember, sins are choices, and they are choices that create frustration in our lives. You find a divorce, that divorce at its core will have sin and sources of frustration that were never dealt with. You find a girlfriend or boyfriend that have relationship problems, it will be sin. Sources of frustration that were never resolved. You find an individual whose mental health begets worse than it should. They're getting the treatment they should get, they're getting the therapy they should get, but they're still not able to conquer the challenges they faced. I'll guarantee you it's their choices that are causing the problem now because they're getting the treatment that they need. And treatment is important, but if you make bad choices on good treatment, you're going to get a bad outcome. I don't think enough of us understand that Christianity is powerful and transformative because we change our inside world. We change our wants. We change our desires. People in the world will tell us people don't change. That's a common mentioned thing. Or you can't change. You're just the way you are. It's just your nature. God disagrees with that. The Bible absolutely disagrees with that and says you can change anything about yourself, but it starts on the inside and then it goes to the outside. When our hearts get right, when we start getting our insight right world, that's when we can believe. Now, I want to say something to you. Some of you are Christians, and you're like, I really want to help people. You can't help people till you help yourself. All right? So you're not going to be inspire anybody to have faith if you don't have any faith. All right? It's really difficult. My coach, when I was in high school, he said, I want you to work for me in my basketball clinic in the summers. And so he hired me to work with him as one of his assistants in the clinic. And it's because he felt like I could help the 5th through 8th graders learn how to play basketball. Why? Because he had watched me learn how to play. I think sometimes we want to help other people, but we don't have any faith. Well, why don't Christians have faith? It's not because Christians are bad. It's not because Christians are hypocrites. Some of us like to say every Christian is a hypocrite. It's not true. Every Christian has flaws, just like every human being has flaws. That doesn't make you a hypocrite because you have a flaw. But the bottom line is we can't help anybody if we don't have faith, extraordinary faith. In Romans chapter 10, verse 8, but what does it say? The word is near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart. That is the message concerning faith that we proclaim. If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. Christians should absolutely, and people who want to be Christians should absolutely be intellectual. But one man once said the distance between salvation for people is generally 9 inches, and that's the distance between the brain and the heart. And if you don't deal and I don't deal with my heart, we can't believe. He doesn't say here, if you believe with all your mind. He says, for it is with your heart that you believe. Your mind can understand, but it's your heart that has faith. Now, I've had eyes that were darkened by the things that were going on inside of me. And I was a Christian at that time, and I could not believe. I was negative, I was pessimistic, I was critical of other people. But until I got inside my own heart and got it right, I couldn't believe. Have you been struggling with your faith? Have you been struggling to believe that God will answer your prayers? Have you been struggling to believe you can change? Have you been studying the Bible for a year or two and you still haven't become a Christian? Have you stopped studying the Bible? Have you been vibrant as a Christian your first 3 or 4 years, but now that you're in your 9th and 10th year, you're kind of like, you've plateaued out. There's no inspiration. There's no emotion. You're kind of just going through like a mummified experience of Christianity. There's something wrong in the heart. And God says, look, get your heart right so you can believe again. How do you get your heart right to believe? You've got to read the Bible. It's nice to listen to me, and you're tremendous and always kind when you listen to me, but I am not the Bible. You will never be able to sustain your faith listening to a speaker. You need to read it. And what's it say here? Reading Scripture makes our heart right. How? Romans 10:17. Consequently, faith comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word of Christ. Whether you listen to old music or new music, old programs on television or new ones, you won't gain faith. You can go watch Man in the Arena on Tom Brady, and you'll get excited, but you won't end up with faith because once the program's over, you won't have it. We need to read the Bible, and we need to start holding each other accountable to read the Bible. Do you know what that means? Well, when I was playing sports, my friends would say, have you done your running? Have you been in the weight room? In the summertime, we had to go in the weight room and lift weights to build up our strength, to get stronger. And your team would hold you accountable. How many of us have a friend that we say, hey, let's be partners and make sure each other read the Bible every day? They say, we're going to be Bible reading partners. Now, we've got partners in here who watch pornography together and hold each other accountable to do that. Some of us hold each other accountable to lose weight. Some of us hold each other accountable to go do fun things. Have you seen a movie? Have you gone out and done anything enjoyable lately? Some of us even hold each other accountable to study and do our homework. But if we don't hear the message, we're not going to have faith. You know, something I notice a lot when I speak to people is they get really excited on the day of church, and then they get really depressed 48 hours later. And the reason is the 2 days after they go to church, they don't read the Bible. We have to read the Bible in order to get faith. And faith comes when we get our heart right, and we need that faith.